Welcome back. It's time now for our solo matches here. It's our first round of the round of 16, and we have 8 fantastic players coming together here. It's not a labeled group like Group A, B, C, or D. It's technically round 1, but it's kind of a group of death here, to be honest with you, State.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Stacked from top to bottom. We got a quick overview here of the solo matches. No, round of 32 was the top 4 of each group moved on to the round of 16, bottom 4 eliminated. Now it's double elimination, which means basically every player, you have 2 lives. If you don't make it out of your group, then, you get one more chance. So a little bit less at stake here in terms of, do or die, win or go home. But the competition is going to be fierce, and I guarantee you every single one of these players, they want to be emerging from today a victor because you do not want your tournament life to be on the line going into next week.
No, definitely not. So today we're doing match 1, and so as a result, you can see this stacked lineup. You have players like InSoo here, Summer, one of the dark horses, Luning, who's honestly my pick as a dark horse in this tournament. You have Cool, as you mentioned earlier. World is doing fantastically. HyunSu has been great in solo. I think we have a few underdogs, right, in Chorong, for example. But here are the stats for the victors, of course, of the round of 32.
Yeah, and Neil impressing people a lot there in Group B. Just played out of his mind.
16 points ahead of second place.
Yeah, just phenomenal stuff from Neil, which is, what you expect from the best global player in kart rider history. And HyunSu also with a very tight finish right there, won the group of death in Group A by just 1 point. Spectacular stuff. World and Speed also rounding things out. World has been very consistent so far overall. I think he finished top 4 in maybe every single round of round of 32 Group C, which is just phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, if you're top 4, if you're like podium or close to podium every single time, yeah, you're going to be advancing. You're going to be very happy with your performance as we have this nice, very cool graphic here showing kind of the round performance of each player and their path to becoming victors.
Yeah, notice that Speed really needed to pull it off in those final 2 rounds. As if you're watching this, you might also be confused as to why Speed has played an additional round. It's because the solo match ends when the first player reaches 50 points. So in Speed's group, Group D, that didn't happen for an additional race. So he played an additional round there. As you can see, the best records of these players as well across the track. So I mean, you'll see that InSoo is on multiple here. HyunSu, it's a Live Sandbox filled track record here. These players are so individually talented. HyunSu's picked up Facility 5. Neil got Rio de Nitro. I always say that name wrong. Extreme Stadium picked up by InSoo. And you can see some of the players for Kwangdong Freaks, Perfect and Sungbin here, also doing very well individually. So it's a stacked lineup of players we have.
Yeah, Sandbox having 5 of the top 11 tracks actually stands out to me a lot. As you said, they're just absolutely fantastic. And right here we have today's matchup. An obvious yet intriguing drama versus anti-cliche. A twist-filled drama. Which ending do you expect, Wolf?
Yeah, and it's that these 4 players on the left side of your screen are the favorites to get out, and you have players like Luning, right, and Summer who've done very well, and you're like, okay, well, they definitely could get out.
Yeah.
But the other line that's drawn in terms of just expectations based on individual performances is 2 pro teams in Live Sandbox and Kwangdong Freaks versus teamless amateur players who came through the qualifying rounds. And that's really the line we're drawing here in terms of who is expected to get out. But we could definitely see an upset here. Now we're going to take a look at these players more closely, some of their individual stats. Notice HyunSu, his podium percentage is the highest in the league. What podium percentage means is your top 3 percentages. How many times did you get top 3 in each and every race?
And 75% is just phenomenal there for HyunSu, as he's going to be wearing the yellow stripes right here. The first seed coming in, and World right behind him. And the black stripes. Second seed, telling himself to stay focused, stay calm, advance. He is 3rd, of course, overall in average points. So another player to contest with here is World, another favorite to advance.
Yeah, the pinnacle of consistency, absolutely. Always top 4, and that's the cutoff line, so that's where you want to be. As InSoo also has the #1 first place finishes, actually more than Neil, in fact, as 4 of those. Pretty insane. He also has 2 records, as we mentioned, in terms of the actual track record.
His mantra is, I will entertain you, and I can guarantee you, Wolf, that he will. This guy is one of the fastest racers in the world.
Cosu coming back. after returning from military service. Hasn't had a great run since 2019, but people are saying he's returned to form. He's also tied for first in terms of that podium percentage we were talking about. 3 out of 4 races, he makes top 3.
Yeah, and those 4 are probably the favorites here to advance out of this group into the winner's bracket. As we take a look over here at the players coming in a little bit later. Summer, the 5th seed here, will be wearing the purple stripes, averaging 5.13 points.
Yeah,
in trouble for the exam next week.
He's got a test next week, and he's...
I keep forgetting this kid is so young, born in 2007. It's like, yeah, dude, you're actually juggling school and kart rider drift. I mean, the dedication it takes for him to be here and be performing as well as he is just...
Yeah,
it's admirable.
I'm going to advance that thing you said there, or had it there, is he doesn't have any notable top finishes, but he was pretty consistent. One of the underdogs in this group for sure, though, as I think most people are not expecting him to advance tonight. And then Luning, who is a player for me that I think has been so fantastic. In team speed, he's been so consistent. He's one of the better team players, but he had a lot of track records early in the season. He no longer holds some of those records, but he came out of the gate very, very well. Won the ace match tonight, so he is riding a high. He's riding that momentum of winning his team's matchup for Reboot in the series against Sensation earlier. The guy's got a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, finished 3rd place in Group A, just barely ahead of this guy right here, Cool, who's not going to mess around. And this time he will be using 6062, and I'm actually glad he brings this up because we do have a little bit of a shakeup here in the kart builds overall. So HyunSu, World, Summer, Chorong, Luning, and Cool, they're all rolling 6062, which is about as standard as it gets here for the karts. But interestingly, InSoo is rolling with a 3263, which is a combination that I personally have not seen yet in the KDL, and Cosu running a 5162 as, actually hold that thought, Wolf. I think we're almost ready to go into track number 1. Glacier Snowbound Slopes here is where we're going to kick it off. Who will come out in first?
And off we go. This is the first track. Everybody's set at 0 here as we see some aggressive cutting attempted here by InSoo. He's at the back of the pack right now as the track narrows.
Yep, Summer in the lead right now, as well as HyunSu. And Luning just kind of leading the charge as we come into some really tight turns right here. These hairpins are very precarious. You do not want to get caught into a situation where you are colliding with your fellow riders. So it's a very fine line you have to walk between taking the most greedy possible angle coming into these turns and also avoiding those collisions, like as we saw Summer right there with World, trying to avoid anything that can kill your momentum.
Yeah, InSoo here, some increased boost time with this setup as well. His cuts, which is what we call snaking off, obviously in the Western community, is actually trying to build up some extra nitros and now kind of do the sweeping style. His goal, I think, with this setup is to just consistently be top 4. He's not looking to necessarily get any first place finishes because he doesn't have that additional max speed with this setup. But see if he can maintain that top 4, because right now it's working out for him.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we were speculating a little bit during the break as we entered the ski lift right here, about what InSoo's game plan is here, rolling with a 3263, and our conclusion was that this is maybe more a little bit about what you just said, consistency. It's not necessarily about winning any single track, as we see InSoo actually fighting for a top 2 right now.
Yeah, and that extra acceleration he has with this setup means that every collision affects him less than other players, but you could see he will struggle against someone like Cool, who's running the full max speed at 6, because his kart could just simply go faster over time.
Yeah, but with the only kart with a 6.3 in boost, he does have the best boosts as well.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic we have. Curious to follow that storyline there for InSoo right now is Cool. The second lap in a commanding position here. Nobody even in drafting range, so really it feels like it's a battle just for the podium.
Yeah, InSoo actually maintaining second place here as we're getting very close to the end of this ski slope here for our final lap. He just continues to attack because he knows he has the better acceleration. Every time he bumps, he's going to win that trade every single time with the acceleration. And he's doing it so incredibly well here. He might actually be able to secure the second spot, but they avoid the collisions now. As we widen here, he's just barely able to hold on to that lead.
Yeah, and keep in mind that he has the longest duration boosts here as well, so World will be able to pass him InSoo fighting to maintain that top 3 spot as the finish line just 100 meters away. Cool, of course, will secure that first place. And World right behind him, InSoo in third. And I think for InSoo, I mean, this is kind of according to plan. You want to play for consistency. You want to play for top 4 going to that winner's bracket. And just kind of spectacular stuff there.
Yeah, the thing is, he clearly prepared for what he wanted to do with this kart setup, the 3-2-6-3, and the way he was constantly forcing collisions, and then the second that he knows that the track is going to widen and they're going to boost around him, he takes the inner line because he knows he's not going to be competing against them anymore. Like, he's playing it very well. I didn't see who it was. It might have been Cosu, yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but someone had a really bad collision there at the end and dropped massively in the standings. So really unfortunate there. We might see it in a replay, we might not, but somebody should have placed better, it looked like, than they did, and actually had a really rough end to the track. So these things do happen in the chaos of the final moments. But yeah, I mean, our focus has been simply on InSoo because of his performance with this unusual setup. But World and Cool both playing incredibly well with the standard as well.
Yeah, World and Cool leading the pack right now is, you know, it feels like we don't really have any upsets so far here after playing track number 1. Of course, this is a race to 50 points. So once we reach those 50 points, we'll see exactly where the standings shake up and determine who's going to go to the winner's bracket, who's going to fall to the loser's bracket. As Wolves, we're getting ready for track number 2. Let's move on to Village Boom Hill Tunnel. And we're off here in track number 2. Cool looking to add on to his already impressive lead. Although Luning, Summer, and World gonna make that tougher in here, leading the pack out of the gates.
And with these aggressive cuts here from InSoo to try to build some additional nitro, because of the extended boost timer that you mentioned, he actually gets about 50% more value than the standard with that. So he needs to be consistently doing that, and so far he's done a great job of it here. Look at how aggressively he actually pushes through these narrow choke points where he's looking like he actually wants to force drafts and then collide with people if they try to challenge him, because he's like, I win that trade, I pass you, I have better acceleration, and then you fall further behind, I win. So now that it's widened his gap between the other players, you can see the difference in max speed here is definitely against him.
Yeah, but you know, in races such as this, there are so many micro collisions that happen as you see people try to take these inner kind of lines that, you know, it really is kind of playing into his hand as we see World taking the left route here. We'll net him 3rd place coming into the second half of this map as Luning and Cool rounding it out in 1st and 2nd place. Cool really off to a great start here in the solo speed section of today's races. Yeah,
Luning here moving up to 1st, but a big collision, and now it's just Cool against the World, man. He's just up here easy peasy, and it's a fairly short race. It's a single track race, but at the end, I mean, he just doesn't really hit anything. He's not playing aggressively because he has such a huge lead, and he's just driving slowly. He's not even drifting on all of these turns because he's just cutting as the crow flies between these corners, just going, I've got max speed here, and no one can actually challenge him. And the cool thing about this for Cool is that InSoo is actually trying to aggressively collide non-stop and look for those attacks. And if Cool doesn't get hit and he gets a slight lead, then his lead actually kind of starts to compile on itself.
Right.
As he's further away from InSoo's aggressive playstyle. InSoo does end up taking 5th place and will only get 3 points this time around. So a pretty big gap as Cool gets back-to-back 1st places here.
Yeah, Cool off to just a spectacular start. And, you know, coming into today, he was one of the players that I had my eyes on because at the round of 32, it felt like Cool kind of had a lot of highs and lows. He got 1st place in 1 track. He got 2nd place 3 more times, but besides that, almost every single round, he was kind of close to the bottom of the rankings. He wasn't very consistent, and that's why he only advanced in 4th place in his group. But, you know, right here, right now, first 2 tracks in round of 16, which is undoubtedly more competitive than the round of 32. He's won both tracks, so Cool got to be feeling very confident, and if he can continue to show this consistency, he might be wearing the yellow stripes.
Yeah, and we might have our first perfect solo group. Like, it hasn't happened yet. It's happened in qualifiers, but it actually hasn't happened in Kart Rider Drift League yet. So we're still 3 races away from that happening, but yeah, it could happen, right? And to have it happen twice already is 2/5 of the way there. And as we move into this 3rd one, we'll see if that consistency is going to continue. Chosen Factory Facility 5. Let's see if that momentum continues as we move into our 3rd race. track 3, we're off here. And cool, back-to-back wins here, but it's World again who starts off the leader.
Yeah, World starting strong, and HyunSu right now only in 6th place, but make sure you keep your eyes on him because he is currently the KDL record holder on this map. This one lapper here on Facility 5 is see InSoo once again contesting podium spots right here with this creative build. I love to see it.
Yeah, I really love seeing stuff like this, the strategy that comes through. He said he wants to entertain people, and so far he has been. I love that he takes the wide angle here too, and everybody drifts earlier. He's actually going to get a lot of momentum now, but he needs to actually catch a draft here, or Cool will eventually pull ahead once again.
Yeah, Cool's in position to strike for yet another first place right now, only in 2nd place to World, as he's in drafting distance, and with this collision will barely get the edge of him just for a moment. They're losing some momentum there with the collisions as we're halfway now through this track. Tight shortcut coming in here, and oh, that was a bad collusion there for Cool, so he's going to fall all the way down into 8th place.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting the 3 back-to-backs here this time around. I think the chances are very slim. It's a one-lap track here as World is now here in first, challenging with Chorong. As Chorong's having his best performance so far of this solo group, but can he get this pass here? He does so far. 400 meters to go. He needs to be defensive here. I think he's got this under control.
Yeah, we'll see if World's able to make a Hail Mary pass right now as he actually gets just enough speed to pass Chorong there and deliver 10 points. As Cool gonna finish there in 7th, Luning in 8th place, and I mean, World adding 10 points to 7. I'm not
massive.
a mathematician, but that is 17, and he's gonna be a lot more comfortable right there in the top 4. As, you know, the middle of the pack right now, obviously Cool having, you know, the run of his life over here through the first 3 tracks, but top 4 is the threshold between determining whether you're going to be advancing into the winner's bracket or into the loser's bracket. So in a moment, we'll get another chance to look at those standings, and World padding a little bit of his lead.
Yeah, Luning, I think, really underperforming here at the start of this as well. Like, he and Summer both haven't had a great start. Cosu's had his moments here, but Luning almost retired that race. Like, he was about a 1.5 seconds off of retiring, and that's -5 to your score. If that happens, that's extremely rare. It hasn't happened yet at all in our tournament. It's just, that's another storyline here of one of my dark horse picks for this group who just isn't playing well so far. On the other side, Chorong, I think, is overperforming. He's playing very well in these first few tracks himself. So the standings definitely shaking up. I'd say half as similarly as you expected, but there have been some confusing results thus far. As we're going to move into Forest Zigzag Timberland here to see who's going to take the lead in our solo match. Off we go. Cool still in the lead despite a rocky 3rd track here with the 20 points.
A lot of zigzagging here as he's trying to build up as much nitrous as he can. We'll see if he's able to leverage that and close the distance between 4th and 1st place as he passes 1 player already. But Chorong continuing this great run that he's had so far today, fighting here in the top 3 spots.
Yeah, InSoo is going to lose this control a little bit longer, or a little bit in a moment here is what I'm trying to say. Words are hard because of his lack of max speed here, but he held onto it very well from the gates of this map where you have such a narrow track. It's really easy to get a lead early with that acceleration, and he's actually holding on to it pretty well here. He has been passed by Luning now, but keeping himself in top 2 and using that extra draft speed here from Luning to kind of counterbalance some of that lack of max speed.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Being able to draft right here as InSoo is phenomenal because he's able to make up for having a little bit of a lesser build in terms of top speed, as we see Cool once again pulling it to the front right there. A lot of positions changing hands as we enter into these very tight, very difficult hairpin turns.
Yeah, Cool back up in first here. Summer having a fantastic run this time around too. We're still in our first lap here right now, but it is very neck and neck. As Luning is going to get that big draft here with a boost to try to pass, but he's blocked out.
Only 0.2 of a second separating top 2 positions there coming into track number 2. It's a very tight race here. All 4 of these racers potentially could be contesting that first place spot, but Cool for now, at least, holding on to that first place, looking to win 3 out of the first 4 tracks here. If he could, it would be a phenomenal performance, but Summer, HyunSu, and InSoo hot on his tail.
Yeah, InSoo actually making a big run back in after losing a lot of that momentum here. Just needs to keep hitting these drafts, and everybody's basically constantly drafting here because everyone's so close by and in these narrow turns. As we're moving closer towards the end here right now. Cool still maintaining that lead as he continues to block. Every time a Nitro is used to try to pass him, he blocks it out.
Oh, that was a fantastic block there by Cool as he's able to maintain this lead.
He's doing so well. He's blocking extremely well right now.
Yeah, this is legendary.
He just had like 4 in a row.
Yeah, look at this defense coming out of Cool right now as HyunSu's going to try his best with the draft to close the distance. InSoo also hot on his tail. Keep in mind, he does have that extra point there in boost duration, but Cool, with his lead, is going to secure 3 wins out of the first 4 tracks. InSoo right behind him, HyunSu and Luning rounding out the top 4. And Cool now, I think, 30 points in total, leading by quite a large margin.
World also having a 7th place finish this time around, so not getting a ton of points himself. So the gap is actually getting pretty wide between Cool and World in terms of the standings. InSoo taking 2nd here, you could see. So World gets no points from this Chorong, and some are dropping down. And this is a track record here as well for Cool. Very well played, passing World's old record. So, you know, it's crazy what we have here, but we do clearly have, I think, a top 5 and a bottom 3 right now, as I think Luning has had his moments, but the finishes, the one that matters the most, what you place not for 3/4 of the race, but when you cross that finish line, that checkered flag hasn't been coming up big for him. He's still in the running here, but with 3 first-place finishes, you got to think there's only a few races left, probably 3 left if Cool continues to perform here. Possibly 2 if he gets first 2 times in a row. Like, that's very unlikely. But you probably got 3 races left to close that gap if you are Luning right now, because that might be the cutoff.
Yep, we'll see if Luning is able to close the distance and breach that top 4, or if our top 4 racers will be able to continue to pad their lead as we head to World Tour Terracotta Twister. Round 5 of Solo Speed kicks off here as Cool's looking to add another pin in his hat for a 4th track win out of 5 as him and InSoo are leading the charge here. Summer and World just behind him.
Yeah, this is a track where there's a lot of aggressive corners that you have to do early on, so it is going to favor someone like InSoo with the build that he's chosen in the early parts. Cool will eventually be able to pass him, but the ability to build Nitro on this track is also helped by the fact that you're constantly drifting, so if InSoo can consistently boost non-stop, he should be able to stay competitive here, staying in top 3.
All right, we'll see if anyone makes any mistakes coming into these turns. InSoo with a bit of a collision there, but nice recovery as no one's taking this too tight on the line. Chorong almost there, just hugging the lip there, hanging 10. Almost fell down, but as it is, everyone navigating that difficult inner passageway safely here. Cool continuing to maintain the lead. HyunSu and World behind him. And Chorong once again in top 5, contesting a top 4 spot overall here in the standings.
And Cool is actually zigzagging very well, taking inner than outer, so while he's also blocking and preventing passes, he's making sure the chances of him getting collided with while a Nitro comes through are lessened. But HyunSu is actually starting to challenge him here. He moves into 2nd, World takes that 1st place spot, but the consistency of World and Cool in this group has been insane so far.
Yeah, it feels like they're contesting podium spots every single track.
Every time.
I would love to see the statistics on that after we're done with this one. As Cool retakes the lead coming into this difficult inner passageway. A lot of tight turns right here. We'll see if anyone goes for some really gritty lines, but as it is right now, so far our players successfully navigating this yet again as Cool continuing to compound on this league. I don't know how he does it.
I mean, he just doesn't make mistakes, man. And now it's just him versus World in a 1v1 to decide who's going to take that 1st place. Will Cool get a 4th one? The answer is yes!
He gets a 4th win right there. 40 points in total. 4 out of 5 tracks are Cool's.
And now, because of this circumstance, if you're Luning, you know, at the bottom of the, not at the bottom, but really trying to contest for qualification for that winner's match, you're glad you got top 3, but you're also a little bit nervous because you have 1 more life, basically, if Cool does it again, right? You're like, okay, well, he has to do both for me to only have 2 races left. Otherwise, I get 3, right? Good start here to pick up 5 on this one. But another record here broken. He breaks InSoo's record, who was the record holder previously, just by a hair.
Cool is just on fire, and if anyone got a chance to take a quick look at the drafts over there on the right side, Cool had about half as many drafts as anybody else because that's how long he was in 1st place. And he was able to maintain that with fantastic line taking, with body blocking, as we saw even right there at the finish line. And I mean, Cool is just playing out of his mind right now. There was a lot of hype going into this guy, coming into, you know, the round of 32, and he didn't exactly deliver. He was a little bit, you know, as we said, up and down, up and down. But here in round of 16, it feels like he's got his mojo back.
Yeah, it also feels like he's been overshadowed by players like World, and I think even players like Spear on his team in team speed. And he's on a roster that's extremely competitive, and his performance hasn't been bad by any means, but I think he has often been overshadowed by those players. So people were a little bit down on him going into this group. But tonight is his night, man. He is one win away, one first place finish from ending our group here. As we move into Mine Gold Rush, we're going to find out if he can do it.
Here we go on Mine Gold Rush. Cool with another first place could send us all home right now with a victory here in solo speed. Chorong and HyunSu right now hanging on at the precipice, tied at 20 points apiece, contesting for that winner's spot. A lot on the line here, Wolf.
Certainly. We do have two players tied in fourth place right now, HyunSu and Chorong, so there's a bit of a battle going on between those two in terms of who's going to qualify, so keep a close eye on that individual matchup between those two. As this has been one of Cool's weaker starts actually here, back at fifth place right now. Summer was in the lead for quite some time, but it's now Cosu who needs so desperately the points here, who's in first, and the weaker the performance from Cool, the better if you're at the bottom of the standings here. But I don't know if Kosu's going to have a chance even with a win here. It's going to be so hard to catch up, but it's a start.
Certainly is a start, and right now World in a commanding position and finishing lap number 1.
I mean, Cool's back up here, man. I'm like, it's done, it's over. Look at him go.
How does he do it? World was a third of a second ahead of the second place racer there coming in at lap number 2. But Cool, once again, in the top 4, in drafting range. Man, he is playing out of his mind. Once again, in first place here on Mine Gold Rush as he's contesting this spot up there with Chorong, with World, with HyunSu. Cool, he wants to win yet another track.
I mean, it would be incredible if he could do it, but he's dropped down now to 4th as World and HyunSu are battling it out. Some of our players who are towards the top of the standings. The difference between HyunSu's finish here and Chorong's is going to be massive. He's 2 places ahead, which is quite massive at this stage.
They're tied.
I mean,
for
so
a moment
close.
They were. I mean, now look at this.
Here we go.
Second and third place.
Oh, look at the inner he's taking. He might actually get the pass. He's in the
Oh
lead.
my goodness,
Cool! What? Unbelievable!
What? Unbelievable performance by Cool as he wins another track to deliver 50 points. 5 out of 6 tracks in solo speed today, round of 16. Cool wins in an almost perfect fashion, and I am just in disbelief right now. I was not expecting this performance out of anybody today, but Cool delivered.
He really, really did. He and World played amazingly, and that is the end of the group. With this victory, he is going to close us out. Unfortunately, Luning picking up no points here. Summer dropping down. Chorong also underperforming versus HyunSu, so we do have a clear top 4. InSoo and HyunSu tied at 24 points, but they both will make it through that qualification. But we have not seen a group like this just yet. This is a 19-point differential between first and second, bigger than Neil's group when he played earlier on in the tournament. As InSoo performing very well here with the build he chose to. Another cool storyline that we look at as you look at how he decided he wanted to play this race. He said, I'm not going to be the main character. I'm just going to be one of the characters in top 4 because that's going to get me the winner's match. And while we zoomed in on him early, and it definitely was the cool show for the rest of the series, in the background, he was performing incredibly well. World showing up big. Now, none of these bottom 4 players are eliminated, but they will move to the losers bracket.
Yep, one of their lives are taken here as they move to the losers bracket, and just a phenomenal performance out of Cool. I mean, I got goosebumps watching that final race. You know, it felt like he didn't have the best start there on that last track, but somehow, I mean, it was like he was seeing through the matrix, man. He just took every perfect line. He got all the drafts, all the body blocking that you need, delivers a near perfect performance here in the round of 16. Like, this isn't qualifying. This isn't a round of 36, 32. This is a round of 16. He almost had double points of World, who finished in second. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I gotta say, the top 4 advancing today into the winners bracket are the players that I expected. But Wow.
We did have...
What a performance.
We did have that, like, which story are we going to see, right? And the top players won, you know? The underdogs were defeated, and there weren't a single underdog that made it through. There wasn't an upset of one of our favorites not making it through. So sometimes that's just how it goes in professional kart rider, but the 19-point differential in this group, even if it was like the same as Neil's win, Neil's group win was a much easier group. And Cool is just one of those players that you feel like when you watch him, you know that, yeah, he'll play in the team league. He's not as teamwork oriented, I think, as a lot of the roster, but he's a very successful runner. But you see him in solos, and it's like, this is what he likes. Like, this is his, this is what he enjoys. Like, this is, when you win this much too, you also get to continue to pick the tracks you want. So you're like always just on cloud 9. And it's funny that he has 50 because the one time he didn't win, he got 0 points. So it looks like he actually had the perfect run when in fact he did not. But one track off of it, man, 5 out of 6. That's our best record so far here in Kart Rider Drift.
Yeah, just phenomenal stuff there by Cool. And you know, before we go into leagues like KDL, we have our teams like interview the players and ask them, you know, what are your favorite tracks? How often do you play? That kind of thing. And Cool's one of those guys that's like, yeah, I don't really have a favorite track. I'm good on all of them. And he kind of proved that today right here in the solo match, you know? Oftentimes you see players do that and it's like, yeah, it's good that you got that confidence. It's good that you believe in yourself. But are you really good on all the tracks? And then Cool, I mean, he wins track number 1. He picks like, what, 4 more tracks in the entire solo speed? And he wins pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I think that we did see, we're going to take a look at today's results, and we did see some of the players that are the underdogs perform well regardless, but, you know, we'll see what they could do in the losers matches. Let's refocus back on the team matches that did happen earlier today, where Reboot was able to take the upset win against Sensation.
Yeah, Reboot there with a phenomenal 3-1 item win, and then winning in the ace there against Sensation, against the Emperor himself, as the Freaks also won, which is the expected result there against Planet. I mean, probably the most favorited team coming into today, absolutely. And I gotta say though, Planet, they really put up a fight. That 3-1 item win, and then even the ace match was so close.
Len's really earning, even though he didn't get his birthday present, I think earning some birthday praise for sure to bring them to that ace match. The ace match, as you mentioned, was close with Acid Fly. Not enough ultimately though, unfortunately. In the Kwangdong Freaks, their reign of terror does continue as 4-0, as mentioned, with a +11. Aura, on the other hand, has been so good in their wins that they might actually pass Kwangdong Freaks if Kwangdong Freaks drop even a single series, which they almost did today.
It's possible. I mean, Aura's been so good, specifically in item mode, which is kind of surprising because oftentimes, you know, you go into item mode, there's just so much chaos. You think that, okay, obviously this is skill-based, but it's so hard to be consistent just because there's so many variables. But, you know, you watch Aura play and it feels like every single time they have a plan, they execute it, and they deliver a win, and that translated into a fantastic round score.
Now, the second group for solos is going to be very exciting as well. We talked about the results quite a bit, but, you know, previewing the next matchup, we have players like Neil. And this group, I would argue, is a lot easier, but it's also a group where you have clear favorites, right? Anyone wearing a Kwangdong or Live Sandbox jersey, I'm going to say the chances are high, right? Neil, Jimin, Sungbin here, and Perfect. But that being said, Jimin is the item ace, right? He's a player who's done very well outside of item, but maybe we could see an upset. I think Speed and Knock are kind of my underdogs here that could maybe be dark horses in this group.
Yeah. I agree with you, absolutely. When it comes to the round of 16, it feels like today was kind of, I mean, it's a match, it's not a group, but it felt like the match of death.
Yeah.
And it just makes Cool's win even cooler. I mean, I'm still on cloud 9 after that. Like, what a thrilling way to end a great day of KDL, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of KDL, tomorrow we will have these matches here. Live Sandbox returns to the stage, and hopefully Sunga will be recovered for this one because it is a really big match between Live Sandbox and Aura. It's really important for the standings to see which one of these teams is going to take it. If Aura gets the upset win here, they're going to be hot on the heels of Kwangdong Freaks. And then Rock's Esports versus Finale. These teams on different momentum. You know, Rock's the favorite if you asked me a week ago. But right now, I kind of feel like maybe Finale is going to run away with this because their item play with Banana has been great. Rox's item is the worst in the league right now. So I'm kind of leaning towards Finale. And then that solo matchup we just talked about will be happening right afterwards.
Yeah, Yeah, it's possible, but if you're Rox Esports, you desperately want to come away with a win there, especially after the loss that Sensation had today, because, I mean, Rox, they're already in position to strike for those playoff spots. Of course, in the Team Link, we have 8 teams. 4 of those will be advancing to the playoffs. 4 will be eliminated after we finish the round-robin stage, and Rox is in a pretty good position to be contesting that 3rd or 4th seed.
Yeah. And it really is going to come down to, like, a lot of what regular season is about is who's the best team, right? Who's number 1. And right now, Quantum Freaks holds that spot. But ultimately, it's really who's going to playoffs, where we have that double elimination format there. So that's going to be very intense. But if you don't make it out, your tournament life is done. A lot of these players have already been eliminated from the solo competition as well. So if you lose, your team loses, and you've lost in solo, you're waiting for the next season.
Yeah, but I mean, it is the preseason, right? It's the dawn of a new era here for KartRider Drift Esports.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's it for us today, though. Hope you guys really enjoyed the matches, the intense races, the ace matches. But we're going to be back with some more KDL tomorrow. We'll see you then.